Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, Adventures with Purpose have just released an edited version of their original video. It's around about 2 minutes shorter than the original, but there you can see the underwater footage of KIELY's Honda. And what you need to concentrate on is a sliver of the interior that provides a grainy insight in terms of the contents of the vehicle. We're going to examine that content in this episode. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So in the foreground, a white wire appears plugged into an Apple charger, or a charger of some kind. There's also a silver and black object. It's hard to say what that is. It could be a cell phone tripod mount or a cell phone mount for a vehicle. In the top right corner, resting against the upturned and dented roof of the CRV, is a can of Truly. It's a black can with the word original tilting slightly upward from a white horizontal line. It appears to be lemonade flavored hard seltzer, an alcoholic drink containing 5% alcohol. The same brand also offers flavors with greater alcoholic content. Black raspberry, for example, has 8% alcohol. 5% alcohol is about the same as you'd find in the average can of beer. If KIELY drank 3 to 4 or more of these cans from, say, 10 p.m. onwards, she would have been pretty buzzed by midnight. For the proponents of the foul play theory, which seems to be most of the folks following this case, I think they prefer to think KIELY was sober so that she couldn't have driven the wrong way or been unsure where she was, or would otherwise have been able to escape the vehicle. But it seems more logical to trust firstly the witness accounts, and these are first-person witness accounts, from those who saw her last, as well as the standard behavior for most kids partying on a Friday night, especially in a senior graduation party, a last bash scenario like this one. So it seems more unreasonable to assume she wasn't drinking than that she was. And I think even more so with this can appearing in the video footage. According to Sammy, KIELY was so intoxicated she decided to get a ride with someone else, despite an earlier arrangement to get a ride with KIELY. As early as August 10th, the Placer County Sheriff's Office seemed to accept the scenario of underage drinking as plausible. Anja Musalim, a spokesman for the Sheriff's Office, said at the time, quote, "We do want to stress that we have absolutely no interest in prosecuting or arresting anybody who showed up at that party Friday evening, whether it be for underage drinking or any type of drug use. We're just interested in finding KIELY. Finding KIELY is our top priority right now," end quote. I think it's also reasonable to assume that if one can only see a small fraction of the interior of the vehicle, and if within this fraction an alcoholic beverage is clearly visible, then perhaps there were several more inside as well. Is that a fair statement? Also, was this can empty or full? We know it was in the front seat area. Law enforcement would obviously have made an inventory of the contents of the Honda. According to the tipster Ronnie Jones, who claimed 2 of his cousins attended the party, quote, "I asked them, well, how drunk was she? And they said, well, she was stumbling around. She wasn't walking around like, oh, I'm tipsy, I'm cool. She was pretty drunk. If she had been driving around, she would have been swerving easily," end quote. Now, according to what Sammy Smith told the U.S. Sun, she said, quote, "The partygoers were engaging in illegal activity in the woods. It's like this Lord of the Flies space where they can just be." The Sun also understands that the teens were sometimes fighting during the evening and smoking weed as well as drinking alcohol. Sammy, who claimed she felt uncomfortable when the party got bigger, also told reporters her and KIELY were drinking from the same containers, doing shots, and went back to her car together to charge KIELY's phone at one point, end quote. Now, if you take this statement as accurate, what they are sort of referring to is, I'm not quite sure what drinking from the same containers means, but you would imagine that it means from the same cup. So it seems like in addition to drinking this seltzer drink, they were obviously drinking something else as well, specifically shots. So you can almost imagine 3 or 4 cans of seltzer, of Truly, and then shots as well. How drunk are you going to get in a scenario like that? Sammy previously told the US Sun, quote, she planned on getting drunk and getting effed up, right? That's a reference to KIELY. Sammy also said that she'd asked KIELY earlier on in the night if she could take her home, if KIELY could take Sammy home. And then she said, but when it came down to it, she was in no fit state to drive. KIELY's friend Mags Larson told News Nation, quote, a lot of drugs were involved, like drugs that we don't typically have just in parties. And our parties also just aren't normally that big, end quote. Sammy told News Nation, quote, I went up to her and she was supposed to be my ride home, but she was too intoxicated. So I told her I had another ride and said, love you, text you tomorrow, Smith said. I think it's totally possible that somebody could have taken her and maybe offered to drive her home, end quote. On August 10, less than a week into KIELY's disappearance, News Nation reported, quote, Rodney's friends have discounted the possibility that she tried to drive home on the dark campground roads and accidentally went into the lake. They searched into the forest, they searched into the water, they've searched in every single place, and there's no tire tracks or anything, from what I know, Sammy Smith said, end quote. I think if you had to ask Sammy, Mags, and Jagger now what they think happened, they'll say the same thing, that KIELY did try to drive home in the dark campground roads and accidentally went into the lake. So I'm not going to take it further than that. Just a question for you guys. Do you think that this can of Truly, do you think it supports the notion of DUI, driving under the influence, or not? Do you think it's totally irrelevant? Then I will be following up this video with another one dealing with the autopsy and what to expect from that. Since it's quite sensitive material, you might want to give it a skip if you are easily triggered or if you are sensitive to discussions about the human body. So fair warning. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.